The Hand That Fed Them. Part 1. The Architecture of Sacrifice. Charlotte Martinez had always believed that love was something you built with your hands, brick by brick, payment by payment, signature by signature. At 34, she could trace the architecture of her family's stability directly to the careful scaffolding of her own credit score, the apartment building where her mother and younger brother lived, Charlotte's name on the lease, her bank account on autopay for the past 6 years, the Honda Accord her sister drove to her nursing classes, her signature on the loan, her insurance policy covering every mile. Her father's truck, the one he used for his landscaping business that never quite broke even, registered in Charlotte's name after his bankruptcy 3 years ago. She kept her folder in her desk drawer, not because she wanted to, but because forgetting was a luxury she couldn't afford. Inside were copies of co-signed mortgages, loan agreements, payment histories, a paper trail of love expressed in debt. Her own apartment was smaller than any of theirs. Studio, 7th floor, no elevator. She'd chosen it because the rent was $800 less than what she paid for her mother's 2-bedroom. Charlotte worked as a senior financial analyst at a mid-sized investment firm. Good money, the kind that made people assume she was doing well. What they didn't see was how that good money got carved up before it ever touched her life. Every month followed the same choreography. Paycheck deposited on Friday, bills auto-drafted by Tuesday, her mother's rent, her sister's car payment, the minimum on the credit card she'd maxed out, covering her brother's community college tuition. What remained, usually around $1,100, was hers to stretch across 30 days. She ate a lot of rice. She hadn't bought new clothes in 2 years. Her coworkers sometimes suggested happy hours she'd decline with practiced excuses, never admitting that a $15 cocktail represented a genuine financial calculation. But this was what family meant, wasn't it? This was the unspoken contract written in her mother's tired eyes, in her father's gruff pride that couldn't bend enough to ask for help directly, in her siblings' assumption that Charlotte, steady, responsible Charlotte, would always be there. The family group chat was usually mundane. Memes from her brother, her sister's photos of her kids, her mother's forewords of prayers and inspirational quotes. Her father posted rarely, usually just reactions, a thumbs up, a single word. So when his message came through on a Tuesday afternoon, Charlotte almost scrolled past it. Dad, stay away from us forever. She was at her desk, halfway through a quarterly report. The words didn't process immediately. She read them again, then a third time. The chat went silent, that particular silence that meant everyone was reading, absorbing, choosing not to respond. 30 seconds passed. A minute. Her sister's typing indicator appeared, then vanished. Charlotte's hands had gone cold. She set down her phone carefully, as if it might shatter. She waited for context, an explanation. Surely someone would ask what he meant. Surely her mother would intervene with some calming message about not saying things in anger. Nothing. The silence stretched into the afternoon. By 5 o'clock, when Charlotte packed up her desk, still no one had responded. Not to ask what happened, not to defend her, not even to acknowledge that something seismic had just occurred. She took the subway home in a fog, the usual crush of bodies, the screech of brakes, the automated voice announcing stations. All of it felt muffled, like she was underwater. In her mind, she kept replaying family dinners, recent conversations, searching for the seed of this. What had she done? What had she said? The answer was elusive, slippery. Because the truth was, Charlotte had been so busy being useful that she'd stopped noticing whether she was wanted. Part 2. The Unraveling. She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she sat at her kitchen table with her laptop and that folder from her desk drawer, and she began to make a list. Not a list of grievances, though God knew she had those. A list of facts, numbers, the cold architecture of her entanglement. Mother's apartment, lease in my name, $1,840 per month. I've paid $132,480 over 6 years. Sister's car, $18,700 loan, $347 per month for 60 months. I've paid $14,573. Balance remaining, $4,127. Father's truck. Registered owner, me. Insurance, me. $156 per month. 2 years of payments, $3,744. Brother's tuition, $6,200 on my visa. Minimum payments, eating 11% interest while he dropped out after 1 semester. The numbers blurred. Charlotte pressed her palms against her eyes until she saw stars. She'd been doing this for so long that she'd stopped questioning it. When had it started? Her mother calling, voice thin with stress, explaining that without a co-signer, she'd lose the apartment. Could Charlotte just help this once? Her father, after the bankruptcy, pride crumbling as he asked if maybe, just maybe, the truck could go in Charlotte's name temporarily. Her sister, pregnant and desperate, needing a reliable car. Her brother, so bright but struggling, just needing this one chance. This once, temporarily, just this one chance. Except once had become always. Temporary had become indefinite. And Charlotte had become the foundation they built their lives on, while forgetting she was a person who might eventually crack under the weight. At 3 a.m., something shifted in her chest. Not anger yet, that would come later. This was colder, clearer. It was the feeling of a decision taking shape. If her father wanted her to stay away forever, she would respect his wishes. Completely. She opened her email and began to type. Part 3. The machinery of distance. The first email went to her mother's landlord. Professional, concise. Dear Mr. Patterson, I am writing to inform you that I will not be renewing the lease for Unit 2B at 847 Morrison Street when it expires on December 31st. Per the terms of our agreement, this serves as my 60-day notice. I will ensure the apartment is returned in good condition. Sincerely, Charlotte Martinez. Her hands shook as she hit send. The lease she'd signed to save her mother from homelessness. The apartment she'd never lived in but had paid for month after month after. The second email went to Toyota Financial Services. More complicated, this one, requiring account numbers and careful language. To whom it may concern. I am the primary borrower on auto loan number 847392-A for a 2022 Honda Accord. VIN 1HGBH41JXMN109181. Due to changed circumstances, I am unable to continue payments. The vehicle is currently in the possession of Miranda Hayes, who is not a party to this loan agreement. I am requesting information on voluntary surrender or transfer of the loan obligation. Please advise on next steps. Charlotte Martinez. Her sister's car. The one Miranda drove to work, to school, to the grocery store with Charlotte's nieces strapped in the back. Charlotte felt something crack in her chest, but she kept typing. The third was to her insurance company, requesting cancellation of the policy on her father's truck, effective immediately. She drafted more emails. To the credit card company, explaining she was disputing charges made by her brother. To her bank, removing her mother as an authorized user on her checking account, something she'd added years ago. In case of emergencies, that had somehow become a license for casual withdrawals. By dawn, she'd sent 11 messages. Each one was a thread pulled from the fabric of their family structure. She wondered how long it would take for them to notice the unraveling. Not long, as it turned out. Part 4. The Reckoning. Her phone began ringing at 8:47 a.m. Her mother. Charlotte watched it buzz against her kitchen counter. Her mother's contact photo smiling up at her. A picture from 2 Christmases ago, when they'd all still pretended things were fine. She didn't answer. A text followed. Charlotte, honey, please call me. Your father didn't mean it. He was just upset about the argument at Sunday dinner. What argument? Charlotte hadn't been at Sunday dinner. She'd been at her apartment, eating leftover rice and vegetables, assuming the family was gathering without her, as they sometimes did. Another text. Whatever happened, we can fix it. We're family. The phone rang again. Her sister this time, then her brother, then her mother again. By noon, she had 23 missed calls and 41 text messages. Charlotte turned her phone face down and went to work. Her boss, Jennifer, noticed something was off during their 2 o'clock meeting. "You okay?" she asked, not unkindly. "You seem distracted." Family stuff, which was both the truth and a vast understatement. "Need to take some time?" Charlotte shook her head. Work was the only place that made sense right now. Work was the only place where value was explicit. You performed tasks, you received compensation. The transaction was clean and comprehensible. By the end of the week, the messages had changed tone. Sister, Miranda. "What the fuck, Charlotte? Toyota called saying they're repossessing my car? I have kids. How am I supposed to get to work?" Brother, James. "Mom's landlord called her. You're really not renewing the lease? Where is she supposed to go?" Mother, "Charlotte, please. I don't understand what I did wrong. Call me, please." And then, Friday night, the message that confirmed everything she'd suspected about the hollowness at the center of their family. "You're being selfish and vindictive. This isn't about you." Charlotte read that last message 3 times. Her father, who had told her to stay away forever. Her father, who had never once thanked her for the truck insurance, the registration fees, the repairs she'd paid for. Her father, who was now angry that she'd taken him at his word. She typed out a response, deleted it. Typed another, deleted that too. Finally, she settled on something simple. "You told me to stay away forever. I'm honoring your request. Everything else is just logistics." She sent it to the family chat. Not just to him, but to all of them. Let them see. Let them understand that this wasn't cruelty. This was compliance. The response was immediate and chaotic. "This is insane. You're punishing all of us because Dad was having a bad day? We're your family, Charlotte. You can't just abandon us. Please don't do this. We'll lose everything." Charlotte stared at that last message. "We'll lose everything." As if everything hadn't been built on Charlotte's credit, Charlotte's salary, Charlotte's willingness to make herself smaller so they could expand into the space she created. She typed one more message. "I've been losing everything for years. You just never noticed because it wasn't happening to you." Then she left the group chat. Charlotte cried after that voicemail. Cried hard enough that her neighbor knocked on the wall to check if she was okay. But she didn't call back. Her father's truck was more complicated. Since it was registered in her name, he couldn't legally drive it without being on her insurance. When he got pulled over for a broken taillight and couldn't provide proof of insurance, the vehicle was impounded. The fees to get it out exceeded $800. He didn't ask Charlotte for help. Instead, he sent one text. "I hope you're happy." She wasn't happy. That wasn't the point. She was surviving. James, her brother, was perhaps the most bewildered. He kept sending messages that seemed genuinely confused, as if he couldn't understand why Charlotte had suddenly stopped being the person who solved problems. "Can you just spot me $200 for books? I'll pay you back." As if the $6,000 on her credit card had been spotted and would somehow be repaid. Charlotte's therapist, a luxury she'd started affording now that her paychecks weren't being diverted, asked her how she felt about the consequences of her boundaries. "Guilty," Charlotte admitted, "but also lighter? Is that terrible?" "It's human," Dr. Reeves said gently. "You've been carrying their weight for so long that you forgot what it felt like to just carry yourself. My nieces. Miranda says they're asking about me. Do you think Miranda would use her daughter's feelings to manipulate you?" Charlotte wanted to say no, wanted to believe that her sister wouldn't weaponize 2 little girls' confusion. But the texts spoke for themselves. "Lily drew you a picture at school. She wanted to mail it, but I told her Aunt Charlotte doesn't care about us anymore. She's hurting. They're all hurting." "And you've been hurting for years," Dr. Reeves replied. "The difference is that when you hurt, you suffered silently. When they hurt, they make sure you know about it." Part V, the truth emerges. It was her Aunt Patricia, her father's sister, who finally told Charlotte what had actually happened. They met for coffee in December,
a week before Christmas. Patricia was the only family member who'd reached out with something other than demands or accusations. Her text had been simple. "I'd like to hear your side of things, if you're willing to share it." They sat in the corner booth of a diner in Queens. Patricia was 62, silver-haired, with the same sharp cheekbones as her father, but kinder eyes. "Your father told everyone you'd insulted your mother, said you'd called her a burden, and said you were tired of being used." Charlotte's coffee cup stopped halfway to her lips. "I never. I wasn't even there. I haven't seen them in weeks."
Patricia nodded slowly. "That's what I suspected. Your father has a way of rewriting things. Always has." She paused, choosing words carefully. "I think he was embarrassed." "About what?" "About needing you. About being 60 years old and having his daughter carry his bills. Men like your father," she sighed, "they build their identity on being providers. When that gets inverted, when they become the provided for, it eats at them. Sometimes they lash out at the person who's witnessing their failure." Charlotte felt something hot behind her eyes. "So he told me to stay away to protect his ego? I think he wanted you to fight for your place, to prove that family mattered more than his pride. What he didn't expect was that you'd actually leave. And now?" Patricia's expression was sad. "Now they're scrambling. Your mother's moving in with your Uncle Carlos. He's got a finished basement. Miranda's husband is picking up extra shifts to afford a cheaper car payment. James dropped out of school again and is working at Target. Your father's landscaping business failed. Completely. He's working maintenance at an apartment complex." Charlotte absorbed this. The empire built on her credit had crumbled in less than a month. Not because she'd torn it down with malice, but because she'd simply stopped holding it up. "Do they understand?" Charlotte asked quietly. "Do they get it now?" Patricia reached across the table and took Charlotte's hand. "Some of them are starting to. Your mother cried to me on the phone. Really cried. The kind where you can't catch your breath. She kept saying, 'I didn't know Charlotte was struggling,' as if she hadn't been showing them for years, as if asking for nothing while giving everything wasn't its own kind of sign." "What about my father?" Patricia's grip tightened. "Your father is learning a hard truth. That pride is expensive. That stay away forever is easy to say, but devastating to live with." She paused. "He asks about you. Indirectly. He'll say things like, 'I wonder if Charlotte's eating enough,' or 'Someone should check Charlotte's car before winter.' As if he's not the reason no one's doing those things." Charlotte pulled her hand back, not in anger, but in self-protection. "I can't go back to how it was." "I'm not asking you to," Patricia said firmly. "I'm asking you to consider that people can change. Slowly, imperfectly, but they can change." Part 7. The Mathematics of Forgiveness. Christmas came and went. Charlotte spent it alone, which felt both liberating and devastating. She cooked herself a small dinner: chicken breast, roasted vegetables, a glass of wine. She watched movies and didn't check her phone. Her mother had sent a text on Christmas Eve. "The girls miss you. We all do. I'm sorry for whatever we did. Please come home." Home. As if Charlotte had left a physical place rather than a dynamic. As if she could walk back through a door and find everything magically balanced. Charlotte had typed and deleted a dozen responses. Finally, she'd settled on, "I'm exactly where I need to be right now. I hope you're safe and warm." It wasn't forgiveness, but it wasn't cruelty either. In January, something unexpected happened. Her sister Miranda appeared at Charlotte's apartment building. The buzzer rang at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday night, and Charlotte almost didn't answer. But something, curiosity, or maybe the last threads of hope, made her press the button. Miranda looked terrible. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, her nursing scrubs wrinkled, dark circles under her eyes. She was holding a manila envelope. "I can't stay long," Miranda said, not moving from the doorway. "David's watching the girls, and he has to leave for his night shift." Charlotte waited. Miranda's voice cracked. She held out the envelope. "This is
Every receipt I could find. Every time you paid for something for me or the girls. Gas money, grocery runs, the car insurance. I kept them because I kept telling myself I'd pay you back. Charlotte took the envelope, felt its weight. It's $31,847, Miranda continued. Her eyes were wet. That's what I owe you. Just me. Not counting the car loan itself. Just the extras. The life support you provided while I pretended I was doing fine. Miranda, let me finish. Her sister's hands were shaking. I told myself stories that you didn't mind because you didn't have kids, so you had extra money. That you liked helping because it made you feel important. That family was supposed to help each other, so it wasn't really debt, it was just love. Charlotte's throat was tight. But it wasn't love, Miranda whispered. It was me taking and never asking what it cost you. And when you stopped, when you finally said enough, I called you heartless. I told my daughters their aunt didn't love them. She pressed her fist against her mouth. I'm so fucking ashamed. Come inside, Charlotte said softly. They sat at Charlotte's small kitchen table, the same table where Charlotte had made her lists, drafted her emails, dismantled her own life to protect herself. Miranda explained, haltingly, what the past 2 months had been like. The repossession had been a wake-up call. David, Miranda's husband, had been furious, not at Charlotte, but at Miranda. He asked me why I thought it was okay to build our life on your credit card. And I didn't have an answer. I just kept saying, Charlotte offered, as if that made it okay, as if offering meant you could afford it.
They'd downsized, sold things. Miranda had picked up extra shifts. David had taken a second job. They'd moved to a smaller apartment and bought a used car with their own loan, their own insurance. It was harder, much harder. But it's ours, Miranda said. That matters. It has to matter, right? That we're doing it ourselves? It matters, Charlotte confirmed. Miranda looked at the envelope she'd brought, still sitting on the table between them. I can't pay you back all at once. Maybe I can't ever pay you back completely, but I'm going to try. I'm setting up a payment plan. $200 a month. It'll take years, but… Miranda, stop. Her sister froze. Charlotte picked up the envelope and handed it back. I don't want a payment plan. Miranda's face crumpled. Please don't. I need to do this. I want you to put that $200 toward your daughter's education fund, Charlotte said firmly. I want you to invest in their future instead of paying for your past. Can you do that? Miranda stared at her, tears streaming. Why would you… After everything? Because I don't want to be their family bank either, Charlotte said. Not cruelly, just honestly. I want to be their aunt, the person who shows up for birthdays and school plays, not the person funding their existence. I don't know how to do this, Miranda admitted. How to have you in our lives without using you. We'll figure it out, Charlotte said. Slowly, with boundaries, with honesty about what I can and can't do. They hugged goodbye at the door, and it felt different than before. Less desperate, more genuine. Like two people choosing each other instead of one person defaulting to need and the other defaulting to giving. After Miranda left, Charlotte opened the envelope anyway. Inside were years of receipts, neatly organized by date. Grocery store purchases, gas station fill-ups, a receipt from Target for children's winter coats, another from a pharmacy for amoxicillin. At the bottom was a handwritten note on lined paper, the handwriting unmistakably Miranda's. Charlotte. I used to think I was good at math. Turns out I was just good at not counting the cost when someone else was paying. I love you. I'm sorry. Part 8. Reconstruction. Her mother was harder. They met in February at Patricia's suggestion, a neutral location, with Patricia there as mediator. A family therapy session without the therapist. Charlotte's mother, Elena, had aged in the 2 months since Charlotte had seen her.
Or maybe Charlotte was just seeing her clearly for the first time. The lines around her mouth, the gray overtaking brown in her hair, the weariness that came from maintaining illusions. "I was angry at you," Elena said without preamble. They were at Patricia's dining room table, tea growing cold in front of them. "I was so angry at you. I thought you were abandoning me to punish your father. And now?" Charlotte asked. "Now I'm angry at myself." Elena's voice was thick. "I let you become the parent. I let you shoulder everything while I—" She stopped, struggling. "I told myself I deserved your help, that I'd sacrificed for you as a child, so you owed me. Like there's a balance sheet for love." Charlotte said nothing. Sometimes the truth needed space to breathe. "Your father and we haven't been good to each other in years," Elena continued. "Hasn't been love, just habit, obligation. And somewhere in that, we forgot we were teaching you and your siblings what family looks like. We taught you that family means draining each other dry. Why didn't you ever ask how I was managing?" Charlotte's voice came out smaller than she intended. "You saw my apartment. You knew I never went out, never bought anything new. Didn't you wonder?" Elena's face twisted with something like pain. "I didn't wonder because I didn't want to know, because knowing would mean I'd have to change, or feel guilty, or both. So I just looked away." She reached across the table, then pulled her hand back, uncertain of her welcome. "I don't know how to make this right." "You can't make it right," Charlotte said quietly. "The years of pretending I was fine while I broke apart, you can't give those back, but you can be different going forward." "How?" Elena asked desperately. "Tell me how." Patricia interjected gently. "By not expecting Charlotte to tell you how. By figuring out your own life without treating her like a solution." Elena nodded slowly, tears streaming. "I'm living with Carlos now, the basement apartment. It's small and it's humbling and it's mine. Well, his. But I pay rent. From my salary." She worked as a home health aide, had for years, but had always acted as if her income was insufficient for living, which it was, barely, but only because she'd never had to make it work. Charlotte had always been there with the shortfall. "I'm proud of you," Charlotte said, and meant it. They didn't hug. It felt too soon, too performative. But Elena whispered thank you as she left, and Charlotte understood it wasn't thanks for the years of money. It was thanks for the truth. Part 9. The Prodigal Father. Her father was the last. Of course he was. He didn't reach out directly. Instead, in March, Charlotte received a letter. Actual mail. Stamped and addressed in her father's blocky handwriting. She stared at the envelope for 3 days before opening it. "Charlotte, I'm not good at this. Words. Apologies. Patricia says I need to try anyway. I told you to stay away forever because I was ashamed. Not of you, of me. Every time I saw you, I saw my own failure. You're supposed to be my daughter. I'm supposed to take care of you. Instead, you were taking care of me, and I couldn't stand it. When you left, I thought you were being dramatic, thought you'd come back once you proved your point. But you didn't come back, and everything fell apart. And I realized the point was that I never saw you as a person, just as a resource. My truck got impounded. Lost my business. I'm working maintenance now, fixing other people's problems because I couldn't fix my own. It's honest work. It's humbling work. I come home tired every day and I think about how you must have felt, working hard and then giving it all away to us. I don't know if you can forgive me. I don't know if I deserve it. But I want you to know I'm trying to be different. I'm going to AA, not for drinking, but because they talk about amends and taking responsibility. I'm learning. Your mother and I are separating. Not divorce, just space. Turns out when you remove the person holding everything together, you see what's actually there. And what was there wasn't good. I miss you. Not the you who paid my bills. Just you. The daughter who used to help me rake leaves when you were 7. Who asked good questions. Who deserved better than what I gave. I don't expect an answer. Just wanted you to know. Dad. Charlotte read the letter 4 times. She cried, which surprised her. She'd thought all her tears for her father had dried up. She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she saved the letter in a drawer. Not the one with the financial documents, which she'd finally shredded. A different drawer. One where she kept things that mattered in a different way. 2 weeks later, she sent a text. I got your letter. Thank you for writing it. I'm not ready yet, but maybe someday. Keep trying to be different. That matters. His response came 3 minutes later. Okay, that's fair. Love you. It was the first time he'd said love you in years. Part X. The new architecture. By the time spring arrived, Charlotte's life looked different. Not dramatically. She still lived in the same studio, still worked at the same firm, but the quality of her existence had changed. She had savings now. Not much, rebuilding took time, but enough that an unexpected expense didn't trigger panic. She joined a gym, bought new work clothes, went to happy hours with colleagues, and discovered she was actually funny when she wasn't suffocating under stress. She saw Miranda monthly. Her nieces, Lily and Grace, were shy at first, having internalized their mother's earlier anger. But children were resilient. They warmed to Charlotte when they realized she showed up consistently, brought small gifts within her budget, and asked about their lives without expecting anything in return. James was still a work in progress. He'd apologized via text, a short message that felt sincere if not fully comprehending. Sorry for assuming you'd always be there to bail me out. That was shitty. They texted occasionally, surface-level stuff. Charlotte figured that was okay. Some relationships needed more time. Her mother called every Sunday now. They didn't talk about money. Instead, Elena told Charlotte about her patience, the small victories and heartbreaks of caring for the elderly. Charlotte told her mother about her work projects, her new book club, her attempt at learning to cook something other than rice. The conversations were lighter, without the weight of obligation. Elena was learning who her daughter was as a person, not as a bank account. It was awkward sometimes, but it was real. Her father she saw once. May. A carefully planned meeting at Patricia's house for a family barbecue. Charlotte almost canceled 3 times, but Patricia had promised it wouldn't be just them. There would be cousins, aunts, uncles, people as buffers. Her father looked smaller somehow. He was thinner, his face more lined. He was helping Patricia's husband at the grill, taking direction without the ego Charlotte remembered. When he saw her, he went still. Then he nodded. A small acknowledgement. Charlotte nodded back. They didn't speak much that day. A few exchanged pleasantries. He asked about her job, listened to her answer without making it about himself. When she left, he walked her to her car. Thank you for coming, he said. I'm trying, I replied. That's more than I deserve. Maybe, I agreed. But I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. He absorbed that. I'm still going to those meetings, learning about accountability. Good. I want to be someone you'd choose to have in your life, he said quietly, not someone you're stuck with because of blood. Charlotte looked at him, really looked at him, saw the regret, but also the effort, the slow, difficult work of becoming better. Keep showing up. We'll see. Epilogue. On a Saturday in June, Charlotte stood in the small backyard of a townhouse she just signed a lease for. Not a mortgage, she wasn't ready for that kind of commitment yet, but a lease on a place with 2 bedrooms, a yard, space to breathe. She'd invited Miranda and the girls over to see it. Lily and Grace were running in circles, marveling at the grass, at the trees, at the sheer space of it. It's beautiful, Miranda said, standing beside her. You deserve this. We both do. Spaces that are ours. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Patricia showed me pictures of your new place. I'm so happy for you, mija. Another from her father. Proud of you.
Charlotte pocketed her phone and watched her nieces play. The evening light was golden, the air warm. In the distance, she could hear the city. Car horns, voices, the constant hum of life happening. She thought about the girl she'd been at 22, signing her first co-signed lease, believing that love meant erasing yourself for others. She thought about the woman she'd been at 34, finally broken enough to realize that staying small wasn't noble, it was just slow suicide. And she thought about who she was now,
At 35, someone learning that boundaries weren't walls, they were bridges that required both sides to maintain them. Someone understanding that family could be rebuilt, but only if everyone carried their own weight. The collapse had been necessary. The scaffolding she'd built, constructed entirely of her own bones, had needed to fall. Not to punish anyone, but to reveal what remained when the artificial supports were removed. What remained wasn't nothing. It was smaller, yes, more honest, more fragile, but it was real. Her family was learning to stand on their own, slowly, imperfectly, but genuinely. And Charlotte was learning something just as important, that she was allowed to have a life that wasn't just the sum of other people's needs. "Aunt Charlotte," Lily called from the yard, "come see the butterfly." Charlotte walked toward her niece, toward this small, perfect moment. Behind her, the townhouse stood ready. Ahead of her, the future was unwritten. She'd built an empire once out of debt and obligation and invisible sacrifice. It had crumbled. That was the bad news. The good news, she was free now to build something different. Something that included her own happiness as part of the foundation. Something that wouldn't require her to disappear in order to hold it up. Her father had told her to stay away forever. She had. And in that distance, she'd found something unexpected. Herself. And that, Charlotte thought as she knelt beside Lily to admire a monarch butterfly, that was worth everything she'd lost to find it.